The huskies' howls melt into the swirl of the Arctic winds. These dogs, tethered to their kennels in the polar night, pull tourist-laden sleds across glaciers. Occasionally, they're even used as props by prime ministers in waiting. 9 years ago, the then opposition leader David Cameron came here to recast the Conservatives as the party which would tackle climate change head-on. Derided by some in the Labour Party as a hug-a-husky moment, it also alarmed some within his own party, especially climate change sceptics. But to the environmental lobby, he represented a potentially powerful political ally. We return to shivering Longyearbyen with the World Wildlife Fund, which worries the momentum promised by Mr Cameron seems to be slowing, especially when it comes to backing clean energy, focusing too much on nuclear and gas.
No one could have predicted how fast the costs of solar PV would fall. And what that's done to the global energy outlook is incredible. 45% of all new energy infrastructure across the world is now renewable. And if Britain doesn't want to get left behind that huge new market, then we need to start investing in it.
In this corner of the Arctic Circle, hungry polar bears aren't the only threat. The effects of climate change are felt more keenly here than anywhere else. The Arctic ice cap reflects solar energy cooling the globe, but sea ice is declining by 14% every decade. In Oslo, we met the environmentalist who accompanied David Cameron to Norway. She fears a lack of political will.
Everyone is now experiencing climate change. So if you look at the weather where you live and you say, I've never seen anything like it, you're right. You've never seen anything like it. Because we're living through the hottest year ever. Last year was the hottest year ever. And we're going to see more and more impacts unless we act very urgently.
The British Parliament was the first to pass an act which forces government to meet tough emission reduction targets. The chairman of the independent climate change watchdog says it's on track to meet them, but greater focus is needed on energy efficiency.
I always think the problem with energy efficiency is that it's not like boys' toys. You know, if you say I've built this windmill or I've done something fantastic, I've got this new nuclear power station, politicians feel they've done something. If you say I've insulated 250,000 homes, it doesn't have the same ring at all, does it?
Undoubtedly, the recent recession warped global priorities, but the government bats away criticisms of inertia, underlying its commitment to phase out coal-fired energy generation.
WWF and other organisations' interests are in making sure that we stick to our climate change targets and deliver on them, and we will. But my interest is also in making sure that we get a balance and we look after consumers. I want to make sure that consumers pay the best price for their electricity and keep it low carbon.
2,000 miles away, the changes in this unforgiving climate remain in the scientific world's headlamp. But nearly a decade after David Cameron's visit here, some green groups worry it's not just the glaciers which are retreating. Robert Nisbet, Sky News, the Arctic Circle.